Well, my first guest, ladies and gentlemen, is a very popular young comedian. She appears on all the major television shows, including The Tonight Show, and very frequently she's been seen on the David Letterman Show. She also has a special now running on Showtime called Night of a Dozen Stars, and she's a favorite with audiences on stages all across the country. She appears very frequently in Atlantic City and is a successful writer of movies and television, including the Rodney Dangerfield special and a variety series for NBC. Please welcome ELAYNE BOOSLER. Okay. So how are you?
Oh, fine.
Uh-huh.
Nice audience, real nice.
Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah,
Thanks
they're
for coming.
great. Oh, thank you very much for having me. I haven't seen you in a while.
Oh, yeah, right.
Yeah, a long time, actually.
I know, it's been a long time.
It's been years, I think.
What have you been doing all this time?
Working, you know. Working on the road, you know, watching comedians come and go. And
yeah, you know, ELAYNE and I used to go together about, up till about 8 years ago for about 2 years.
Two and a half.
Two and a half, right.
That half
and that
year.
was when we both lived in New York City. Have you been to New York?
I've been there a lot. It was fun. I think about those days sometimes when we were really struggling, and then, you know, you made it real big way before me, and
thank you.
Didn't really help me. But,
what interesting things have
I been doing?
Yeah, in New York. Have you been in?
I ran into an old friend of ours. Remember Ed? I ran into him, and he's doing real good. He's married now. You know, I went out with him after.
I know. I remember you went up to the Catskills. Did you? What did he do in the Catskills?
Oh,
when you went there? Yeah, for that job.
Well, it was very, very old people, and he didn't look at the audience.
Well, he used to do material about.
He did a lot of death material.
Yeah, about death.
But usually you look at the audience and
so
come
a
out
comedian
and decide,
did about death.
You know what you would do, but he didn't look. So he came out thinking it was like a young, nice audience like this, and he came out and started talking about all these senile old women in his building who, like, would take out their teeth and wipe them on his jacket and stuff. He's a brilliant comedian. He's just brilliant. But anyway, people started to cry, you know, and then he was talking about funerals, and everyone had just lost somebody in the last week, you know, and because they were so old, and so it was really a very depressing job.
Now, I remember when you went up there. That was. I stayed at your apartment, and you said you were going away with your parents. You remember, this is about towards the end of the second year, and you said that you were going to go away with your parents, and I could stay in your apartment, because I lived on Long Island, and she lived in New York City, and I wanted to stay in the city. So, so I found out that you had gone with him, and then I called you at your house, and you were, you know, and you wanted to break up. I remember.
Well, I think that about that time, I think we both were wanting to break up, right?
Well, actually, sometimes I would wake up in the morning and I'd think, I'd like to tell you that we're going to break up. I'd say, well, I've got to tell her tonight we're going to break up.
Really?
Yeah. And then that night I'd get up to you and then you'd say...
Like towards the end of the 2.5 years or during, you know...
A lot of times, because we were constantly breaking up and going back together. And I would say, oh, I'm going to tell her tonight we're going to break up. And then I'd get to you and you'd say, Andy, we've got to break up. And I'd say, no! No! You know, because I didn't want to...
Well, also, I was the only one earning any money for us, and so you couldn't really leave, I guess.
That was because I was performing every night in the nightclubs, and you didn't get paid in those days for, for 3 years. You didn't get paid. But ELAYNE had a job. You were hostessing at
7 nights a week.
Improvisation in New York. And so she had the only one of the two of us that would make any money.
So I supported us.
Yeah.
And then you made it in Taxi, and this is the first time I've seen you in about
What kind of things did we do?
6 years. Remember when you tried to get Chris to fix you up with that little ballet dancer?
What? Who?
What's her name? The one he's married to now?
Oh, that, yeah.
So you always
What about that? I don't
so
remember
you were
anything
always
about that.
trying to, you know, and then with the, you know, all the spiritual stuff, I worked where they served liquor, so you didn't want to kiss me goodnight, and then you went out with people on heroin after that. I mean, I don't know. It was just... I mean, I think you put me through a lot of stuff. Just a lot of stuff that I think you know, I mean, I'm surprised that you asked me to do the show with you, quite frankly.
No, that's because
I
I've known you
never told anybody that I went out with you.
I know,
never,
and that's-
because I thought that you had made it real big, and I
Yeah.
didn't want to be one of those women who makes it on some guys. So, you know, I wanted to really be
You
independent.
didn't have to worry about
and-
that, but I asked you to do the show because I figure you're an old friend. I mean, we went out
Really?
for 2.5 years, and it's been 10 years that we've known each other.
Right,
And I
10
thought we're
years.
still friends.
We
and
are
could-
friends.
And we can work together.
Yeah, I think so. It's you know, the show has no budget or anything. I understand that, but
Yeah.
what about like
But you're still
Taxi
gonna
with
get
all
paid.
that budget, and you never asked me to do anything on that?
I don't have any power over there. I'm not. I only
well,
am
not
an
now,
actor. I'm
I
just
guess,
hired as an actor
you
on
know.
this show.
I know.
I don't have any. I can't tell them who to hire.
Well, I just.
As a
the
matter of
reason-
fact, I wrote a letter to the producers before it went on the air. And I recommended you for the part. And I recommended you for the part.
did?
Yeah.
I don't know. I just, you know.
Well, okay. I think we're gonna have to cut to commercial now. So we'll see you we'll be right back. Okay.
All clear.
that I hated that. I can't believe
I
that's
hated
the
it too.
direction
Why
it
didn't
went
you
in.
prepare more?
Because.
I'm trying to ask you lead-in questions so that you could.
Well, I didn't. The first thing you say when I come in here is that you went out with me. I mean, I'm not expecting that. I hated it, and then this. I mean, you know.
Well, I was asking you. I have a list of questions that you gave me the other day. I was
Yeah,
gonna,
so
we were
you
going
didn't
to talk
even
about
lead
the
into
bums in
them.
New York City.
Yeah.
I said,
so where
what have you
were
been
the
doing?
bums in New York City? You didn't
I
even
start
bring
talking
up
about New York City, and you start talking about the other guy in the Catskills.
You
and
brought
then
up the Catskills 16
I have shrinks.
times.
I have shrinks
Why
written
didn't
down.
you say shrinks? I can't sit here and interview myself too. I mean, it's too.
No, but
you've
you're
been-
supposed to wait for my lead-in questions.
So why didn't you ask me anything?
I was trying to, and
This
you
was
got out of it.
horrible. This was so terrible.
No, it wasn't.
I can't believe it, and I really don't believe that you don't remember reading
I
the
don't
comics
think it's as
to
good as
me.
it could have been.
I don't think it was good at all.
Because you had all this pressure on you. You think that you were supposed to go someplace and start a fight or something, start some kind of an argument.
Why did you have to bring up the minute I came out here that we used to go out?
Because I was going to do that later on. I thought it would be appropriate to do
Well,
it in the beginning.
it was terrible.
Well, I think it was terrible. It wasn't terrible. I just don't think it was as good as it
well,
could have been.
I think it was terrible.
Yeah, well, that's because you're so stubborn and hard-headed about the whole thing. I mean, I have all these questions. Bums, you're supposed to talk about the bums in New York City. Then you talk about shrinks, how you went to a shrink because you were the only person you knew who would go up to a bum and ask them if they need money. And then you talk about why you don't talk about shrinks. Because comedians, those are one of the subjects that comedians don't talk about. And then the no-nos in comedy, and that's shrinks leading to death. Death is another no-no in comedy. Who's the best comedian at death? The guy you went to the Catskills with. Then you talk about the Catskills, the whole thing in the Catskills. Then you talk about the cake and the train.
You opened with
then
the
you talk about.
Catskills.
Then you talk about. You open with Catskills. I
You
didn't talk
opened with the
Then
Catskills.
comedians. Then you then talk about the way time I flipped out at Channel 5 in New York, and they had to take me away with the security guards, and the whole Bill Boggs episode.
Do I have a list of paper in front of me? You have a whole list of
Right,
subjects
so why
in
didn't
front
you
of you.
just
So why
wait?
didn't you lead
I
into
led you into the
anything?
New York City. I said, "What have you been to New York City lately?" Have you? And you changed the subject.
I did not change the subject.
Yes, you did. You changed the subject. I'm sitting here trying to lead you into New York City. I'm sitting here not trying to lead you into New York City. I'm trying to lead you into the sub. Okay, we're back, and.